Book Introduction, Riding the Wave of Transformation, An Unbridled Perspective of Leadership. Part 1, The Alive Framework Explained. In this video, we will dive into Kerstin Weibull Lundberg's unique approach to leadership in riding the waves of transformation. Discover the innovative 5D Alive framework that blends core leadership qualities, authenticity, listening skills, intentions, values, and energy across various dimensions of leading. Learn how horses play a crucial role in mirroring a leader's behavior and explore compelling stories that highlight the importance of vulnerability and trust in effective leadership.
Welcome to another deep dive today. We're going to be looking at this concept of 5D Alive leadership.
Okay.
From Kerstin Weibull Lundberg's book, Riding the Waves of Transformation.
Yeah.
I know you read the book, but what I thought was really interesting about this one was how she uses horses.
Right.
Not in like a horsemanship way, but how to understand leadership from horses.
Is
pretty cool and different approach.
It's a unique approach, and she's an engineer, she's also an executive coach.
Right.
And her work in horse-assisted coaching brings a whole other element to the table here. She focuses on a group of people that I think a lot of us can relate to, which is what she calls the leaders squeezed in between. So folks with responsibility, but not always that ultimate authority.
Yeah, no, that really resonated with me too, because I think a lot of us are in that middle ground.
Yeah.
We're responsible for driving things forward, but not necessarily the ultimate decision maker. But then how does this 5D Alive framework apply here?
Well, it might sound like
It sounds very sci-fi.
Yeah, a little futuristic or something, but it's really about 5 core leadership qualities: authenticity, listening skills, intentions, values, and energy.
Right.
And so that forms the acronym ALIVE. And then those qualities are then applied across 5 dimensions of leading from the front, leading from behind, leading from beside, leading in the room, and leading from nowhere and anywhere.
So it's not as simple as saying this is how a leader acts, but recognizing that there's all these different modes of leadership.
Absolutely.
Depending on the context.
That's a good way to put it.
Almost like you have a toolbox full of different approaches and you choose the right one for the job.
I like that. That's a good way to think about it. And, the horse element of it is really fascinating because, they're not trained to do anything. They act as a mirror for the leader's behavior and energy.
Yeah. She even talks about an example of a CEO who was notorious for being a micromanager. In one of these exercises, he was on a horse, the team was leading the horse, and at the end, he couldn't even remember who was leading him.
Wow. Yeah, that's a wake-up call for sure.
Big wake-up call.
Yeah. I think micromanaging, a lot of it comes from a lack of trust.
Right.
And so I think that was his aha moment in this process is that, I got to let go of some of this control to build trust.
Yeah. And that really ties into what we were talking about with vulnerability as a leadership trait.
And so I think that's the piece that we're so afraid to be vulnerable because we think it shows weakness, but actually it's the opposite. It helps us to build trust and connection, which is essential for effective leadership.
She talks about a team that came in. They'd just gotten into like a heated argument in the car.
Yeah.
Driving over to this thing. And they brought that energy in. And the horses were a mess.
A mess, agitated, difficult to handle.
Yeah. And there was really visible demonstration of the impact.
Of how our emotions and our energy have on others, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think we all you walk into a room and you can feel the tension.
Exactly.
Even if nobody's outwardly arguing.
Yeah.
It's like you can cut the atmosphere with a knife or something.
Right.
But I really connected that to leadership and to my own impact as a leader on the team's energy,
Right. Well, and that's a crucial insight. We all pick up on these subtle cues, and horses, being prey animals, are incredibly sensitive to these shifts in energy.
Right.
And so what she's saying is we as humans can develop this awareness to be more attuned to not only what we're projecting, but also what we're sensing from others.
So it's almost like this feedback loop then, like becoming more conscious of your own energy, how it affects others.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. And this ties back to the importance of embracing vulnerability and being authentic and letting go of that need to appear perfect all the time. And so those are qualities that she groups under the authenticity element of the ALIVE framework.
And she even gives those practical tips like do something that frightens you, connect with somebody you're afraid to connect with.
Right.
ask for help.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, those seem like they're more for personal growth.
Well, they are, and that's the point. Personal growth fuels effective leadership. When we're willing to be vulnerable to show our imperfections, it gives others permission to do the same.
Right.
It fosters a genuine connection.
Absolutely.
And creates a more open and trusting environment.
And I think the story about Maria, remember Maria, the middle manager who was constantly being undermined.
Yeah.
And she learned to embrace her vulnerability and express her feelings constructively.
And that led to a promotion for her.
It did.
It shows that vulnerability, when channeled effectively, can be a strength. It's about being true to yourself and having the courage to speak up even when it feels risky.
I hope you enjoyed the first part of the video introducing riding the wave of transformation. In the next part of this video series, Part 2, exploring the 5 dimensions of leadership, you will discover the transformative power of leadership through the lens of herd dynamics. Explore the 5 dimensions of adaptive leadership and how they can inspire you to lead with authenticity and fluidity. What's your leadership style?